The night it happened, the rain had stopped. But the world still felt wet. The smell of damp metal hung in the air as if the storm had peeled the town open. In the middle of that silence stood an antique shop, Elias Timepieces, a place that never truly closed. Because the clocks inside never stopped ticking. But that night, one clock did something no machine should ever do: it started to bleed. Marla was the only one inside, the young apprentice left to close the store while her boss was away. She'd always felt uneasy in that place. Hundreds of clocks, all ticking in uneven rhythm, created a heartbeat of madness. When she passed the old grandfather clock near the back, she swore she heard it sigh. She told herself it was just the wood settling. But wood doesn't sigh like that. She turned off the lights, one by one. The shadows grew thicker, stretching like black water across the walls. As she reached for the final switch, the ticking stopped. Every single clock in the shop froze, at 11 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds. The silence pressed against her eardrums until she thought she'd gone deaf. Then, one sound broke through, a single drip. It came from the center of the room, from the oldest clock in the shop, a huge brass piece said to be built by Elias himself over a century ago. Marla leaned closer. The sound grew louder. Drip. 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 A thin red line slid down its face. She froze. It wasn't paint. It was blood. Her breath caught. She stepped back, hand shaking. But curiosity anchored her feet. She touched it, it was warm. The clock ticked once, slow and deep, like a heartbeat starting again. And then, softly, from inside the clock, a whisper, "You're late." She stumbled back, her heel catching on a rug, sending her sprawling. The whisper came again, louder, closer. "You're late." The pendulum began to swing again. But now it was covered in red, splashing droplets as it moved. She ran to the door, locked. Every key she tried snapped in half. The clocks began ticking again, all out of rhythm, all faster than human breath. Her reflection appeared in the glass of the bleeding clock, but it wasn't hers. It was a woman in old clothes, pale and furious, her eyes hollow black pits. "You promised," the reflection hissed. Marla screamed, slamming her fists against the door. Behind her, the clocks laughed, not ticked, laughed, in hundreds of tiny metallic voices. The reflection stepped out of the glass like smoke made solid. It hovered inches above the floor, dripping red from its fingertips. Marla couldn't move. Her limbs were frozen. As if time itself had stopped for her. The spirit reached forward, touching Marla's chest. The warmth spread like fire. "He's waiting," it said. The old brass clock's door creaked open. And inside, instead of gears, there was a staircase spiraling downward into darkness. The whispering grew louder, tick-tock, but beneath it, something else, the sound of screaming. Against all logic, Marla descended. The air thickened, heavy with iron and decay. Each step she took made the blood pulse faster along the clock's walls. At the bottom was a vast chamber, made entirely of clock parts, wheels spinning like veins, gears grinding like teeth. In the center stood a massive heart made of glass, beating with red light. Around it, shadows moved, whispering her name. She could barely stand the sound. It wasn't just one voice, it was dozens, all versions of her own voice, from different ages, different choices. "You wasted time," one of them said. "You begged for more," said another. "Now time takes you." The heart pulsed violently. Every clock above began to chime at once, midnight. The bleeding intensified, flowing like rain through cracks in the ceiling. The red drops fell on Marla's face like tears. She looked up and saw herself hanging upside down from the ceiling, eyes open, lips moving silently. The heart exploded into light. Time reversed. The blood shot upward, the whispers vanished. And Marla was standing once more in the shop, breathless. And if nothing had happened. All clocks were ticking normally again. She looked around, silent. Calm. But her reflection was wrong. Her reflection smiled when she didn't. She ran out into the night, gasping for air, clutching her chest. When she reached home, the old brass clocks ticking followed her, soft. But constant. She tore off her coat and screamed when she saw it, the sleeves soaked in crimson. Her watch was gone. In its place, embedded into her wrist, was a tiny clock face, its hands moving backward. That night, she couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard whispering. "You're late," it repeated. "Fix it." When she woke up, the walls of her room were covered in numbers, scratched in red. 11:59. Over and over again. Days turned to nights without sense. She stopped eating, stopped speaking. She just sat by her window, waiting for the minute hand to move. But it never did. Until one morning, at 11:59, her clock ticked once, and bled again. The police found her the next day, sitting in her chair, eyes open, a faint smile on her face. Her veins were black. And her wristwatch was still ticking, backward. They buried her in silence. But when the undertaker went back to close the coffin, he heard a faint tick. He swore the blood on her wrist was fresh. Weeks later, Elias timepieces reopened under a new name. But the locals avoided it. They said the clocks inside still bled on stormy nights, especially near midnight. One customer claimed to hear a woman whisper behind him, "You're late." A year passed. The shop was sold again. And during renovation, workers found something behind the wall, a rusted heart-shaped clock, dripping red oil that tested positive for human blood. No one touched it. They sealed the wall and left the town. But sometimes, travelers say that if you walk by the ruins of the shop at exactly 11:59, you can hear a single clock ticking inside. And if you wait long enough, it starts to bleed.